welcome to Winslow Academy. So in this series we're going to work with the damn vulnerable web application. If you haven't heard about this before, it's basically an application that you can set up locally and in order to play around and learn about different exploits that can be used in a web application. So this is basically a sandboxed environment that you can use to learn and play around with these exploits. In this application there is, for example, brute force, there is SQL injection, cross-site scripting, command injection, and all kind of different exploits that is usually and famously being used on real web applications. So if you are either an ethical hacker that want to learn how to do this, or you are a developer that is actually developing a web application, this can be a good training ground for you to avoid making these exploits within your real application. So in this part 1 of the series, we're basically just going to look at how we can set this up using a virtual machine of Kali Linux. So let's get started. So the first thing that we have to do is to be able to run Kali Linux in a virtual machine on our computer. So I'm using the VMware Fusion to running mine because I'm sitting on a MacBook, and that performs very good based on the hardware that I have in my Mac. But there is also the alternative, which is VirtualBox. So both of these are applications that allow you to run virtual environments on your machine. So VirtualBox is based on the open source software license agreement, so that can be downloaded without further need of license, whereas the VMware Fusion comes with a free personal license if you are just going to use this for personal use. So you can choose between these based on either your preference or what you think is best based on the hardware that you have in your machine. But we'll not cover the exact setup in here, because depending on which software you use, there is a different way of setting these up. But I'll just show you that you can use either VMware Fusion or VirtualBox. Then when you have chosen one of these and downloaded them and had them up and running on your machine, you need the Kali Linux distribution. That can be downloaded for free by going to kali.org, click on the download, and then here you will be clicking on the virtual machine, because then it will you will be downloading a distribution that is set up either for the VMware Fusion or the VirtualBox. So all the configuration is pre-made for you, which is very nice. If you are, however, in need of wanting to play around with these yourself, you can just download the operation system distribution directly and then set it up yourself. But we will choose the virtual machine. Here you can see you can either choose VMware or VirtualBox. Then you just choose with bit version you want, and then whether you want it just directly, you want the torrent, and then you can check the sum of the file that you downloaded. So based on what you choose one of these, download it and set it up, and then I will see you when you have the Kali Linux up and running. So we are now back in Kali Linux, which I'm running virtually in my VMware Fusion. So first off, we have to, let me just close this if you are new to Kali Linux, so close tabs. So if you're new to Kali Linux, you will see that similar to Windows or Mac, you have a lot of applications, but with Kali Linux, it's meant for ethical hacking and penetration testing, so you will have a lot of pre-installed applications for that specific purpose. But we'll not be using these, we'll head directly to a browser. So we'll open up the browser here, and then we'll navigate to download exam, which we are going to be using to host our vulnerable web application along with our MySQL. So we'll head into this page here, and then we'll download the one for Linux. We will save this on our system, and then we will head in here, just into our home. You can also see it over here. It is being downloaded. But let's just go in here and then on the downloads, and I already have this installed on my machine, but I'll just show you how to execute this when it's downloaded. But while we are waiting for it to download from a fresh installation, we will also be needing the damn vulnerable web application. So we'll search for the damn vulnerable web application, so DVWA, and then we'll just hit the first link, and you see the address right here. And on the download, we'll just click download, and again we'll just save this file right away. So the smart thing about this being in like this virtual machine, meaning that it's not part of your actual machine. So whatever you do here is like contained within this virtual running system. So you can actually play around with a lot of different things that you normally wouldn't do on your own machine if you are afraid of, for example, downloading malicious files or something. However, these are totally safe, but just for those that are not aware of exactly what this container virtual sandbox environment means. So now we have downloaded these. We'll go into, let's say, this one, and I'm going to do like this over here again, and then download. And then we have like the zip version. So this is the second one I downloaded. If you just like open this and unzip it, you will get a folder like this. So in this folder, you see that there is a lot of files, and these are actually all the files that we want to be hosted on our local server in order to be able to have this web application running. So we'll, for now, just skip these while we focus on getting XAMPP installed. The way we're going to do this is to heading over to our terminal. In the terminal, we need to navigate into our download folder. So we'll just see here. We'll see into our download folder, and from here we will be executing the XAMPP runner here. Oh, and this needs root privilege. So in order to do this, you need to have the sudo in front. So we'll just do like this, and then we will enter the password for our user, which is Kali. So as you remember, when you open the machine, the username is Kali and the password is Kali. So once we do this, we will have the right to open this. And as you see here, we are now into the setup similar to when you install any other application, either Windows, Mac, or Linux. So we'll click next, next, and next again, and just basically follow this through. And now that we have this, we can go back into the setup, and the setup is now beginning to install, and we click next, and it will be installing XAMPP for us. So now that XAMPP is installed, it is already clicked to launch XAMPP once we're done. So we'll just do this, click finish. And then you see here, it is being run similar to this. And since I have now reset my XAMPP installation, I get this database setup, which we'll get into in a moment, because this is also what you're going to get into. But first, you need to have all your downloadable web application files into your XAMPP server. So the way you do this is by clicking Open Application folder right here, and then you get into this folder right here, and then you go into the home folder like before, and now it's time where you need to copy all these files. So these are the files that you saw before when I opened this, but before you do so, we also need to configure our database for the XAMPP MySQL. And what we're going to do here is to go into this config, and then under this config.inc.php.dist, we're going to change the configurations of this file. So if we just click it right here, you can see that right now it's just set to the right configuration because I have already set this up. But basically what you need to do with your local installation when you get into this file for the first time is to change the password. Oh, this is actually not set up right, so we'll just remove this. So no password, and then you change this to being root. So when you have database user as root and an empty password, it matches the configuration that is set up by XAMPP by default. So we can just save this, and then you should be good. What you then need to do is to rename this, because it has to be a .php file instead of a disk file. So you will just be removing this and renaming it, and now you have the configuration file in the right format. Next off, you just need to copy. Oh, it's here, so I'll go back. You need to copy all these files, and then you go into the XAMPP folder, which were now I hope you don't get confused, but this is the one you got by going open application folder. Here you find the HT docs, open this, and then you basically copy all the vulnerable web application files in here, similar to what you see I have done here. So that is the reason why I see the application running in the background. So once you have done this, you can close the folder here. Then you go into manage servers. Then you need to ensure that the Apache web server is running, and then you start the MySQL database as well if that is not running. And as you saw, you can start both of these by clicking on them and then start, and then you will see that they are starting up, and then they will both go into green. Following this, you can go in here, and then you can enter the local IP here, and then you get into the login page. The login for the damn vulnerable web application is admin and password. So that's just a default password. And then when you get in here, you see that I'm already set up. If you haven't done this before, it will come to a database setup page where you basically just click create tables and columns, and then it will set up all the database structures that you'll be needing to running this, and then you should be good to go. So once you have this welcome screen, welcome to the vulnerable web application, you are ready to start to play around with these. And this ends the part 1 of this series. In the next episode, we will be looking at the first exploit, the brute force, and also how you change the difficulties in this, because there are different difficulties that you can use in order to challenge yourself even further when you have completed the assignment on a beginner's level. So see you next time here on Winslow Academy.